Hello and welcome back to 10 at 10. My name is Michael Ramage. I'm the director of the Cyber Education Research Center here at Murray State University, and welcome back to 10 at 10. 10 at 10 is brought to you through a partnership between Murray State University, Grow West, the Technology Council of West Kentucky, KY Innovation, and our local partner, Sprocket Innovation in Paducah, and the Kentucky Innovation Station in Madisonville. This is our 200th episode. It is amazing that we have been doing this for 200 episodes. And since it is the 200th episode, I wanted to bring on a couple of special guests today to talk about what has changed in the world of cybersecurity over the last 200 weeks. Each week or each episode's a week. So over the last 200 weeks. So first is Mr. Chris Wooldridge. Chris is the director of the Center for Economic and Entrepreneurial Development here at Murray State University. And second is Dr. Randall Joyce. Dr. Joyce is the director of or coordinator of our Cybersecurity and Network Management Bachelor's program in the School of Engineering. So first of all, thank you all both for willing to hop on this morning and talk a little.
Thank you, Dr. Ramage. It's an honor to be here with you. And let me say congratulations on your 200th episode. This has been a great project that you've undertaken with a lot of great partners that we have in the region. And both you and your team and Dr. Joyce have done a great job in educating those folks in the small business and entrepreneurship world about the importance of cybersecurity. So thank you. Congratulations. And thank you both for the work that you're doing.
And I should add that, it was only right that you be on this episode since you're the one that guilted me into starting this thing 200 weeks ago. But, so it's been in January, it will have been 4 years. So we're not quite to 4 years, but 200 weeks. What from your view, from both of your perspectives, have been the biggest changes that we've seen in cybersecurity over that time frame? And Dr. Joyce, I'll start with you.
I'd probably say the biggest change that we're starting to see a lot more of with cybersecurity is the use of AI and machine learning, both in detection, responses, automation, and all that for your cyber threats. But we're going to start seeing that probably in the actual attacks too. So it's a double-edged sword with that. Another one I'd probably say that we're starting to see a lot more of, and we'll probably continue to see more of, is ransomware as services, essentially. So we're seeing, organizations getting hit with ransomware, and it's almost a full-blown service industry. So,
yeah, Chris, anything that you would add to that?
Well, I would agree with all three of those. I think from my perspective and where I sit in it, there have been an explosion, if you will, of AI seminars and training sessions in the realm of small business as well as business and industry. But a day doesn't go by I don't get an ask for attendance to a seminar on AI, how I can use it in my business, how I can use it in my marketing, how I can use it in my research, et cetera. And so definitely it's going to be plugged in because it's being pushed quite heavily as to how do we make us more money, which then again, of course, opens that door to the risk. The ransomware, I don't see as much with small businesses, and you've talked enough over these 200 sessions about ransomware and the size of the target matters and the amount of money that you can actually get out of that target matters. But I suspect that some of the business and industries I do know that I've worked with and have been very concerned about that because in their space they hear about the ransomware and the threat. And then the government interest side, I'm seeing more interest in that because the government's driving some of that. Hey, we want to have access to this. Hey, we want to be able to do this. And it's not as big as AI and ransomware, at least from my perspective, but it's out there. And I do think that it's going to continue to grow, especially as the threats as they come internationally as well as domestically target businesses.
Yeah. Well, and the way that I would sum up what has happened over the last 4 years, and it's really just expanding on years before, is that these bad guys are in the business to make money. So what is it that they can do? What tools can they use? How can they develop ransomware? How can they take advantage of these things to better and make it easier to make money. As a small business, you're looking at, how can I make my product better that more people want to buy? Well, the bad guys are doing the same thing. How can I make my product better to get a better return on investment? And as ridiculous as that is, they look at it as a business, and it's something that they're moving forward, which is why the government interest is there. And frankly, from, go back to the Colonial Pipeline, they hit something that made its way up to the White House, and the White House got interested, and that was a problem. And actually, I think they got kicked out of the ransomware club for doing that. But anyway, well, let me ask you another question. So when you look at small businesses, and Chris, I'll start with you on this one. What's the biggest challenge that you see small businesses have with keeping up with all of these changes and issues that are going on?
I think it's a combination of a couple. One is you've got entrepreneurs and innovators and small businesses that are working day to day to keep that operation going, and so there are a lot of issues right there in front of them that they can address, that they need to address, and so I guess attention and awareness of really what this is. Do they understand the risk? Do they understand this topic of cybersecurity and how it affects them? And so from that perspective, that's a challenge, because as innovators come online, as entrepreneurs start to open, we got a lot of claims on their time and their talent and their treasure. And cybersecurity just doesn't necessarily pop to the first of that list, top of that list. And the second is money. What is this thing called cybersecurity, and how much is it going to cost me to address it? And how do I stay on top of it?
Well, and when we started 10 at 10, the idea was that we were going to try to take these complicated topics and break them down into chunks that a small business, or you could even understand how to implement for your family, that type of level. And I do think that's the biggest challenge, is that there's such a daunting world of cyber out there, that how do you break that down to something that you can understand? Well, Randall, let me come back to you for the next question.
I mean, I was going to add to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the things we're seeing with a lot of small businesses is probably the risk appetite. So, they're small business. Cybersecurity, IT resources cost a lot. So a lot of times, I've seen over the years is how willing are they to dump, some of that money into it, and how easy is it for them to actually implement? Because small businesses, they may have one IT person running multiple hats and doing multiple things for that organization. So, cybersecurity may be an afterthought, or like I said, depending on their risk appetite too. So,
yeah, absolutely, and that's the challenge, is understanding that, and what I think that we would probably find if you really started digging into small businesses is that the risk appetite and the actions that they've done don't necessarily match up. So I think there's certainly a challenge there.
Yep.
All right. Well, let me still go back to you, Randall, for the next question. From here, over the next 4 years, what do you think we're going to see from a security perspective? What threats are we going to see over the next 200 weeks?
Okay, so I think the first one we already talked about a little bit. We're going to see more AI-driven attacks, more AI-driven campaigns, automation. That's probably a given. The other thing I think you're going to see a lot too, and this is sort of interwoven with that, is like how does this play into like cloud security, hybrid work environments? To see what kind of misconfiguration might be in between those environments, or the providers and whatnot. Because one of the things I think at the end, we've already seen this, like you're talking about with some of these different industrial control attacks and stuff like that. This supply chain. I think that's going to be one of the bigger things we see and continue to see in the next probably 200 days, is more supply chain attacks. That kind of stuff. So,
yeah, I think those are some fair.
And if you want to push past the 200 days too, I think
200 weeks.
200 weeks. Okay. So yeah, you probably start seeing more quantum computing attacks and more. I'm gonna say more interest in that. Just because of how cloud resources have made it a lot easier for individuals to get access to high resource allocation. So, more CPUs, more memory, that kind of stuff. So, quantum attacks may, be something we see down the road.
Yep.
Of course, that'd be more encryption based stuff like that too. But
yeah, no, I think that's right.
Yep.
Chris, anything you would add to that?
Just a quick comment. I think from a business standpoint, excuse me, also from an economic development standpoint, the concern of infrastructure, cybersecurity threats is becoming even more so important. We work closely with a lot of economic developers through our outreach programs, and I hear a lot more. We need to be concerned about cybersecurity affecting our power, how it's affecting our water, how it's affecting our ability of our companies to operate. And so I think from an infrastructure standpoint, as well as from a small business standpoint, it's easy to get overwhelmed with all of the latest attack methods or the latest, how can they hit me this time? Is it going to come through my phone? Is it going to come through and when they get in, what are they going to do? What does that look like? And so I think it's very important, both from a business and industry, small business, infrastructure, et cetera, and you all do this so well, is we need a process to identify them. It's not, we don't need to know necessarily the name of the latest bug or virus or whatever. We just need to know how to find it and how to kill it. And I think that's a big challenge, is how does cybersecurity recognize the new development and make that relevant to the business in advance enough time to say, you need to have this process put in place to catch whatever flies through the screen door and get it.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I think that's a good way to end this. And let me say that, the goal is for 10 at 10 is to continue to do this. I don't know that I'm going to sit here and commit to another 200 episodes, but continuing this in the future. And the goal continues to be is to take these security challenges, really, Chris, as you just laid out, take these security challenges and bring them down to a level that businesses can take action on, because that's really the ultimate goal. Well, let me end by saying thank you all both again. I could continue this conversation. We went long, which I knew we would today anyway, but we could continue this conversation for a lot longer. But thank you all both for joining in on 10 at 10.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining in, and I'll see you next week back here on 10 at 10. Thank you. Bye.